don't have that 9 to 5 anymore. So now it's like, oh, entrepreneur life. And entrepreneur life can be a little wacky. So definitely pushing me to save more and just be more mindful of what I'm spending on. And that drive of like, okay, I want to be able to sustain myself as an entrepreneur and not go back to 9 to 5. So I definitely understand the emotion to make you save, to make you invest. Like, I have no choice. I have to do it. Like, this is my why. I have to get it done.
Welcome to the Your Next Move podcast. Today, I have a new author friend who is going to be on the podcast, Melissa Jean-Baptiste, Millennial in Debt. Y'all, this woman paid off $102,000 in debt on a New York City teacher salary. Nothing else really needs to be said after someone's able to do that, because we know how much our teachers are making. I am so excited to have you here. I know you help millennials and Gen Z build generational wealth.
I try.
And finance is something we love to talk about on Your Next Move. So I know you from your videos on Instagram. And literally when you sat down today, I was like, have we met in person?
I know. We have a vibe.
Yes. But I'm like, I feel like I've known you. This is our first time meeting each other. But tell the people why you began your money journey.
Well, I wanted to buy a house. That's the American dream, right? I am first generation Haitian American. And so I went to school. I got the degree. I'm like, the house is next, right? So at 25 years old, no savings. I called the real estate agent and I'm like, hey, I want to buy a house. Let's talk about it. And he's just like, okay. So we go through pre-approval and things like that. I get approved for $100,000.
Okay.
In New York, that's not buying you anything.
I was going to say, in New York?
Yes. Nothing. A Barbie house, maybe.
Perhaps.
And so this is when he introduces debt to income ratio, that term. And I have never heard of it, didn't know what he was talking about. I'm like, I pay all my bills. I do everything I'm supposed to do. And he's just like, you're not going to get approved for much more if you don't get this debt under control. And so his advice to me, which at the time, because I was crying. So at that time, it's like, I just want a house. He's like, call your loan provider and see, is there anything you could do to accelerate your payoff, bring that balance down. And to my surprise, when I called my loan provider, I actually owed more than I borrowed. And so I just felt really trapped. I felt lost. I felt confused. I'm like, I thought I was doing all the right things. And I found that I was doing nothing. I wasn't doing anything that I was supposed to do. I wasn't learning how money truly operated or how to use it as a tool. And it was from that time, that moment, 2013, where I was just like, I don't want to live at home forever. I want to be able to buy a home, but I also want to travel. I want to go to brunch with my friends. And that's where I really decided to take my money journey seriously, to take the money journey in general. I wasn't doing anything before, and start trying to pay off this debt so I could buy this home and, have a savings. So that's what really started my desire to leave my parents. Had I known that bills were so much bigger on your own.
Yeah. Especially in New York.
I'd have stayed home a little longer, but that was definitely the catalyst, just wanting to be a homeowner.
Gosh, I love that. I mean, it's that drive to not stay at home. I think at that age is so pivotal. I have something very similar. When I graduated school, I'm from Connecticut, but I was in New York, and I was like, I'm not going, I will do anything to not go home. And I struggled financially for a minute because I didn't want to go home. In hindsight, would a few years at home probably have been the smarter thing to do? Oh, 110%. Yeah. But it was time.
I definitely understand. And I always say, my parents are so supportive. They were great. But there's just something about being in your own space, getting to do what you want to do, living how you want to live, where I was just like, I can't. When I called that loan provider, they told me I was on a 30-year payment plan.
A student loans?
Yeah. I'm like, 30. I was like, I'm 25, man. I'm like, I don't know. 30 years. 30 more years of being at home seems ridiculous. So it just was the right time to kind of grab every book I could get my hands on, every, article on the internet, and just really teach myself the things that I didn't learn in school, the things they're not teaching in school, to get my behind out of my parents' house and into my own space.
I love that. And you touched on it a minute ago, because debt pay down is your thing.
Yeah.
So what are your recommendations for prioritizing debt payoff with other financial goals in mind too. Because I think you touched on like, I want to do brunch. I want to do this. Like,
Yes.
I want to live the soft life. I want to do all of these things, which
yes.
also cost money. And I think that there's this misconception sometimes, or maybe not misconception, because I think that there is a point that some of it is sacrifice.
Right.
But there's a pull to live a soft life and do all the things and have the brunch and have joy. And nobody wants to sit at home and just meal prep because they're paying down debt.
Yes. And so that is what I did before, leaning into the soft life, because I came from a place of shame and embarrassment. And so it felt like going on vacation, going out with my friends and family to do these things that cost money, it felt like I wasn't taking the journey seriously.
Okay.
At the time. That is 100% wrong. That is not the way to do it.
Okay.
So everyone listening, I just don't feel this shame and embarrassment, because there's no need, right? We weren't prepared properly and now we're just learning. But I truly, truly think that you need a game plan, and that game plan starts with a budget. Budgets aren't sexy. They're not attractive, right? But they truly are the key to having you be able to pay off that debt, to go to that brunch, to go to that vacation, to invest. I was investing while paying off debt because that was something I was just like, I also want to retire early. These were the thoughts in my head, like, okay, pay down this debt, get this home, and figure out how to really build wealth so you don't have to work till you're 70 years old. And that started with a budget, and that started with the money date. And it was very uncomfortable. I'll tell you that. Starting off with a negative net worth and just seeing like, oh, I don't have any assets. I have a car, an old car. That's all I got. I don't even have savings. So it's sit down with that money, look at what you have, look at where you want to go, and push past the discomfort.
Got it. So when you think about budgeting, how do you approach budgeting? I know people talk about like the envelope method. Some people got spreadsheets. There's like downloadable guides. There's like pen and paper.
Yeah.
What's your thing?
There's so many different things for different people. And what's really important is you want to pivot with your journey. So when I first started, I was using the 50-30-20 budget. It's very popular. People talk about it. I don't know
that one.
So 50% of your money, your take-home money, and it's a big difference between what's on the check and what you actually take home.
After taxes.
Yeah, that was my first lesson. So 50% goes towards your needs. So rent, mortgage, whatever it is, food you want to eat. 20% is going to go into savings. And then 20% is going to your whatever your wants are, and 30% is towards saving. I didn't really know how to kind of figure out what my wants were outside of debt. So that 20% went to debt. But now I'm like, oh, well, I'm investing. I'm doing all these things. So now I use the zero-based method, which is another really big popular one. But at 25, I wasn't going to use that one because it was just too much, right? And so I think a lot of times people are like, well, I have to use this budget. My favorite influencer is using this budget. And it's like, but does this budget work for where you are in your life, where, the things you want to do, the experiences you're having? So my zero-based budget now, every dollar has a job. At 25, that wasn't going to work for me. At 20 years old, that wasn't going to work for me. But now it's like, okay, I have to have money to go towards this house if something breaks. I have to have money to go towards this car if it breaks down. I have to have money for my dog. All these different responsibilities are going to take, parts of my money. So that has to be budgeted for. So I'm a crier. So I don't want to be crying in the corner like, I can't afford, this month. So the zero-based budget works for me now. And in 10 years, I could use a different budget. So it's important not to just stick to one thing because that's what's popular. You got to stick to what works for, wherever you are in life.
So zero-based basically means every dollar has a place.
Every single dollar. So if I'm bringing home $2,000, those $2,000 are going a specific place. So it's going to either be $500 in savings, $1,000 towards rent, but I'm not going to have a single dollar that I don't know where it's going.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that's why I'm like, when you're younger, that might seem like, I'm not doing all of that, right? But now I have to. I don't really have the wiggle room to not know where my every single dollar is going.
Oh, I love that. I'm not even sure if I could do that as a grown adult right now. And I'm like, it would be a really good challenge to not do that. I think about just swiping on it for Amazon.
Yeah.
Like I needed ink today. I just went ahead and I swiped my card. I ordered ink. It came today. Like
I feel
all of those things, when you have a zero-based budget, every dollar has a place.
Yes. But I like to put myself in my budget. So in my zero-based budget, I put aside $400 for things like that. So I'm like, oh, I want to go to Sephora. So I'm going to pull from that $400. Or I want to go to Target. Or I need ink. So it's going to come from that little bucket of money. And once that bucket is empty, there's no more Fenty, no more like I just have to wait, right? So I really like that I still know where every dollar is going, but I am a part of my budget. So I'm not just living the lifestyle that I was living in the beginning where I'm like, I can't get a massage, I can't go to brunch, I have to do this. But now I'm like, all of my responsibilities are being covered. I'm saving, I'm investing. I'm going to go to brunch and I'm going to plan for that brunch. I also now, which is like, I'm so happy about this. Now in my budget, I have like a gifting bucket. Ooh. So I put money in. So if a friend gets engaged or a friend has a baby or my dad just turned 65, I'm like, okay, so this money is going to come, from this bucket and it's going to be used to buy gifts. And that is something I'm really proud of now. But again, at 25, I wasn't going to be doing that. So adjusting your finances is very crucial.
I'm just impressed with the discipline it takes to have a zero-based budget.
It does, but it's worth it and it pays off. And I truly enjoy it now. But again, in 5 years and 10 years, I might switch to something else.
No, I think I'm very selfishly thinking about like, oh my gosh, I want to buy a house in the next year.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think my rent went up by almost 11% this year. So you'll see the podcast shot in this space for the next year. We don't know where it will be next year, but it went up. And I'm like, the amount of money that I'm paying, I'm like, it makes no sense to continue to pay this money when I could at least put it toward a home or something else. So I know I'll be moving probably like this time or next year, by June of next year at the latest.
Yes. And so what I want to throw in there, because I did not do it properly, furniture. I know you have your furniture here, but like sometimes when we move stuff. Right? Like, okay, I want to try to get this. I do not properly plan for furniture ever because I'm just like, it can't be that expensive. It is.
It is. Furniture is incredible. I plan for furniture only because I feel like it takes so long to actually get it delivered. So I've thought about it well before I move. But my thing I always forget about, I have a thing with Container Store and custom closets.
I love the Container Store.
Yes. So every time I get into a place, Container Store comes day 1 or day 2 to do my closets. That is my extra expense that I always forget about. Yes. Because when you're in Container Store, it just a little of this, a little of that.
Yeah. Container Store and Crate and Barrel. I love, like I could live in there, right? But I gotta put it in the budget. So it's so funny because I've actually been saving for a new bed frame for 5 months. And I definitely could have, everyone's like, you could have swiped that, you could have had that money. I'm like, yeah, but I like to follow what I preach, what I tell people. So I'm like, I'm gonna create a sinking fund and I'm gonna put this specific amount of money. And so I'm now ready to order and they're like, oh, it'll be here in 3 months. I'm like, oh, that's okay. I've been waiting already 5 months, so it's in the budget and that's fine. So definitely delayed gratification and that's okay.
I'm so impressed with the discipline. So what do you know about money now that you wish you knew when you started on this journey?
That is a really good question. I really wish I knew that money was a tool. I saw it more as, okay, I work, I have money, I'm going to spend money, that's it, right? I didn't really understand that, you can use money to leverage a lot of different things that can, one, lead to more money, that can lead to property, assets, growing wealth, right? And when I talk about investing, I'm just like, I wish I had known when I got my first job at 16 that I could have used $50, $25 and invested early, and that would be a tool to get me to retire early. So definitely wish I understood the ins and outs of how money is a tool and not just like, I'm going to swipe all the time and work more to get more. That's not all that it is.
Gosh, when are you hoping to retire?
Yesterday, but
yeah, that too.
I am actually really hoping to retire in the next 10 years.
Okay.
I think I got 10 more years of like, just going full throttle, but at 45, in 10 years I'll be 45. At 45, I think I'll be ready to just be like, all right, y'all, peace out. It's been fun. Pop up whenever I want to, but just be financially independent to be work optional at 45.
I say the same exact thing. I think we're the same age. I'll be 36 this summer.
Nice.
And I always say that I want working to be an option in my 40s.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to have to do it. I want to do what I want to do. And if I want to disappear from the internet and y'all never see me again, I will do that.
Me too.
In the 40s. Like, I would love to be able to be at that point where I don't have to do any of the things. Yeah. I just do what brings me joy. Yeah. And if I want to continue to work, I will continue to work. And if I don't, I want to be able to, take a little sabbatical. See you when I see you.
We're like twins here, twinsies, because that's exact. And I love, the family that I've built on the internet. But I'm just like, if there's one day where I wake up, I'm like, I don't want to make reels anymore. It's gonna be at 45. Well, it's gonna be then, or whatever new things that come out.
It's gonna be something else.
It's gonna be optional at that point. So that's what I'm really excited for.
That's cool. And I think that's a really big driver. I think when it comes to finances, I know for me, it's got to have something that's tied to like my emotions to get me excited about doing it.
Yeah.
Like me knowing my rent went up by almost 11%. I'm like, that's like, no, I'm going to save to get something this year, whether I'm just moving to someplace else that's like, I get something else that I want, or I get a home, or I want a high-rise condo. That's the goal. I want to be in a high-rise condo. So I'm like, I'm going to get the high-rise condo. And I'm like, that is motivating me because it's like tied to my emotions. But if it's just saving for the sake of saving and looking at my spreadsheets and looking at the money I'd rather spend on random things on Amazon, that's not going to get me excited.
I love that. Like, I don't think we talk about the emotions that are intertwined with money enough. And I know people talk about money trauma sometimes or your reaction to things, but that is a huge motivator for me as well. When I was I worked in tech, the tech world is going crazy. So when I was laid off, I was just like, oh, I'm about to like put the pedal to the metal, work really hard with Millennial, and make sure that I'm able to save and put away money because I don't have that 9 to 5 anymore. So now it's like, oh, entrepreneur life. And entrepreneur life can be a little wacky. So definitely pushing me to save more and just be more mindful of what I'm spending on. And that drive of like, okay, I want to be able to sustain myself as an entrepreneur and not go back to 9 to 5. So I definitely understand the emotion to make you save, to make you invest. Like, I have no choice. I have to do it. Like, this is my why. I have to get it done.
How long have you been full-time in Millennial Debt?
This past January, so like 6-ish months.
Oh my gosh, welcome to the club.
I think it's a fun club, but a little scary, right?
Oh no, it's scary as hell. It's scary as hell.
I'm just like, I'm so excited, but then there's some days I'm just like, oh, okay, how much money do we have? Okay, we have to do this. So
oh no, it's crazy. I think so. I'll be 2 years in May.
Okay.
And I think for the first 6 months, I woke up having like moderate panic attacks.
Yeah.
And my first thought was like, I don't have a job. I don't have a damn job. I don't have a paycheck coming in. What am I doing? What am I doing? Like that first 6 months, literally every morning, that was my first thought. I have no job. And I was like, I need to work on this. I had to work on my mindset, my money mindset, my entrepreneurial mindset, the whole thing. But it's scary. And 2 years later, I'm still like, no, it's still scary. It's still scary. But I wake up and now I know I'm like, okay, I don't have a job, but like I have clients, I have this, I have other things. But money wise, I think that's a completely different just feeling, knowing that like, it's literally like you kill what you eat.
Yeah.
And you have to be more fiscally responsible so that you can have insurance and trips and all the other things.
Insurance. Oh my God, Kimberly. Insurance is crazy on this end. I was just like, oh, 9 to 5, insurance is great. The first month I had to pay for my own insurance, I was like, what is happening here? And taxes, I'm like, I'd almost rather just pay taxes. The insurance is, we need to have like a group, like a support group. Yeah. So I definitely understand. It's a different financial responsibility, but it's also like my biggest motivator because I do enjoy it. So it's good to know the crazy never goes away. You just feel it forever. So
it's just different seasons and you find really good friends and community. I think I tell people in the same way that in the 9 to 5 world, you have like that person, like when you have a bad day, you're just like, can we get a coffee? Like right now, like pre-COVID days where it's like, when you see that face, oh, we are leaving. We are going outside. We are getting coffee because you need to be away from people so you can say what you want to say. Entrepreneur life is the same exact way where you need that person where you can call at any time of night when you're working on some dumb thing on your website that crashed and you have to fix it and you can't figure out the tech piece. Because of course you're coding now because you're an entrepreneur and you do everything. You need those people who you can call because one of us is up. Yeah. One of us is up doing the same thing.
And I'm just like, but again, it's fun and amazing, but it's all these other things. And you're like, wow, didn't plan for any of this. And it's like, I'm more tired than when I worked the 9 to 5. But
the things they don't tell you. But it's a beautiful thing.
I agree. It's
a beautiful thing. And I tell folks it's always like the same way. Like you talked about like a different budget for a different season, like how you do things. I think entrepreneur things, I at least for myself, I say like right now, like this is where I want to be.
Yeah.
But if someone were to entice me with a job I was really excited about, and if I were able to co-brand, I could have my company and be me and continue to write books and work in corporate and get some good insurance that I'm not paying like $1 million a month for, I would do it if I could be both.
Same.
Yeah.
It's very much same. My last job was kind of similar. It was in fintech. So it was like, okay, they're totally on board with me doing my thing, but I obviously have to do my job. And it was just really nice. And so I'm like, it was a nice segue into entrepreneurship. And if I find another similar opportunity, I think I would dive back in. But for right now, I'm kind of just vibing, enjoying, the time as an entrepreneur. For now, we'll see.
I love it. I love it. It's serving you until it doesn't serve you.
That's right.
So what do you feel? I love money hacks. Like I love things with those little tweaks that you didn't necessarily know about. And then when you found out, like, oh my gosh, I lived my whole life without doing this. So what is your hack that you're like, everybody should be doing this?
Sinking funds. Sinking funds. First of all, that's how I paid off my student loans. The $102,000.
So what is a sinking fund?
So a sinking fund is a savings account. I like to just break things down and make it super simple. It's not anything. It is a savings account.
Okay.
But you work backwards. Mm-hmm. And so if you're going to be a bridesmaid, if you're going to be on vacation, anything that a total amount, you would work backwards and say, okay, I have 10 months to save $1,000. So I'm going to put X amount of money aside from my check weekly. Some people do it daily, monthly, whatever it is, but you put a specific amount into an account, and that account should be separate from everything. Okay. Because I initially tried it. I was like, I'm just going to put it in my emergency savings. No. Because I'm like, I don't even know which money is which at this point. So you open up and people are like, oh, can you open up different accounts on this? I'm like, yes, you could do it with for most part, any bank. You open it up, you title it, bachelorette party, bridal shower, whatever it is, and you just keep putting money into it. And when that moment, when you have to spend it, you spend from there. So you're not touching any other money. You're prepared. I do this for just about everything that I know has like an end date. So I'm like, oh, I have to pay for my Amazon Prime renewal. I'm going to be putting $20 every check or whatever it is to pay for the renewal. So when it comes, I'm not like, oh my God, I have to swipe or do this. So I'm always prepared for things that we know, right? If something we don't know is like, okay, emergency savings, but I will sinking fund any expense that's coming up. Because I'm just like, first of all, I need to mentally prepare like, oh, you want $3,000 for this bridal shower thing? Okay, like let me set some money aside. But sinking funds really were a game changer when it came to my student loans. So what I would do every January, I would say, okay, I'm going to pay off this particular loan. And so I followed the debt avalanche method. Some people like the debt snowball method. I just did not. I was getting charged 16% interest on some loans. So I was like, those loans got to go. And so I would say, okay, this year we're paying off $12,000, but I would set it to pay off in December of that same year. So I gave myself the 12 months and I'm like, okay, well, I need to put $1,000 a month into the sinking fund. How am I going to make an extra $1,000? Because on a teacher's salary, it wasn't going to cut it. And so I started side hustling and passive income and things like that. But every month, that money went into that sinking fund. And every December around the holidays, I'm like, okay, I'm paying off another loan, pay it off. And then January start again. I did that for 5 years. Every year was a different loan. And then that's how we got rid of the balance because the interest was killing me. So sinking funds all day, every day.
Okay.
I am a big fan.
So what were some of those side hustles that help you drive income?
Yeah. So I like to talk about side hustles without leaning into hustle culture because that's really important. Because when I first started, I was like, I'm going to do every side hustle that exists. I don't care. I need the money. Like I will dog walk. I will tutor. I will do anything. Okay. And as a teacher, any teachers listening, they're like, when did you have the time? I did not. I was miserable. The return on interest on investment just wasn't worth it. So I was like, okay, I need to do something that makes sense. That's not going to take out a lot of my own personal time because I want to sleep. I want to relax. I want to hang out. And so I started selling my lesson plans and unit plans. I was already making them for work. I was already doing them. My administrators were really rating them really highly. I was just like, oh, I think I might be good at this. And so I started making them and I put them up on Teachers Pay Teachers. For any teachers listening, they always say, what platform? I use Teachers Pay Teachers. I put it on there and then they would just buy the digital product over and over and over again. And even now, I'm not a teacher anymore. I'm still making about $200 to $300 a month from those lesson plans I put up in 2014, 2015.
Wow.
So that's what I'm saying. Because passive income, for y'all listening, is not always I get to do nothing and just make money.
It's not always passive. It can be very active.
Correct. And so I was like, listen, y'all, I was still lesson planning and unit planning for 40, 50 hours a month to make these documents. And then I'd put them up. But years after, they're still making me money. And so when I was really in the game, I was making about $10,000 a year from selling my lesson plans and unit plans. And I was just like, oh, people really like these. I was like, oh my God, okay. And so that was my main source of income to add on to my teacher salary to pay off this debt. Because I needed that sinking fund money no matter what. And that was the best way for me to do it.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Because you used something that you were already doing. Yeah. So it didn't take more time, more energy. You were just using the skills that you had and finding a different way to package them.
Right. Exactly. Because I think a lot of times, especially on the internet, they're like, side hustle, get a side hustle. And it's just like, with what? Like, what do I do?
People are like, oh, are you going to secret shop? Or are you going to like find all these other things that all take time?
I don't have time for that. I just taught for 7 hours. Like I can't do it. But you want to lean into skills. You want to lean into things that you already know how to do so you don't have to go and upskill. Sometimes upskilling is required, but in the beginning, if you're looking for a side hustle for any type of passive income, start with what you know. Mm-hmm. See what that investment is going to be like on your time, on your finances, and then work from there. And it's not always going to be like, oh, I can, go drive Uber. Because again, time. Your car, gas, a lot of things go into that. And so be a little cautious when it comes to side hustle because it could be more negative than beneficial sometimes depending on the hustle.
Oh, 110%. I think in one of our last guests today that I recorded with, I was talking about a time in my life where I was working a full-time job. I did swing shifts, so 12-hour shifts at like a fast food restaurant. I worked at TGI Fridays because I knew I can get good tips. And at one point there was a little bit of overlap where I actually also had a retail job. So I'd do the 9 to 5, and then at nights I would go to like the retail job, Victoria's Secret Pink. Yeah. Be folding panties till I don't know what time in the morning. And then on the weekends, I would at least do one 12-hour shift.
At Fridays.
Yes, because I knew the tips would come in. It was cash. And I'm like, but I was miserable. Yeah. But the money was coming in. But I think back then, I don't think, what year was that? 2000. Oh, yikes. 2000. I'm like, how old am I? I'm like, I think that's probably the same thing. 2000. That's like 2008, 9, and maybe a dash of 2010. Yeah. I'm like, oh my, yikes. That's a long time ago.
I'm with you, girl.
But we weren't talking about it like that then. People weren't making money on the internet the way that they are now. I think I started blogging maybe like 2011. And that was like the early stages of seeing people do things like that. So it just wasn't a thing. Yeah. Everything, when you wanted to make more money, it always took, most of the time, more time.
Yes. And I'm right there with you. I also worked at Victoria's Secret, but only for a day. I was just like, I can't do this. But like I worked at Victoria's Secret, Macy's, and just at that time, it was like, do as much as you can to make as much money as you can. And then I kind of seeped in when I was trying to pay off debt. I was like, do as much as you can. Like, you need this money. And I'm like, all right, hold on. Like, this isn't gonna work. And I think it's so interesting. I also started blogging very early in the game, 2013. And I was looking at some of the rates, just things that we were charging back in the day. And I remember I saw like, oh, $25 for an Instagram post. I was like, $25
for an Instagram post, knowing now people are making multi-5 figures.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, wow. Side hustling, blog, so many things have come a very long way. And I think we do it with more intentionality. Yes. Because ain't nobody doing a $25 Instagram post. I tell you that.
No, not a soul. I love that.
It's not happening. So
I love it. So we need to talk about your book. Yeah. First of all, I love the cover of your book. I remember watching, I think you did a reel talking about like the design of it. And I was like, this is epic. Like, I know y'all can't zoom in, but you'll see. We'll put a link in the bio to show y'all the book. Tell us, like, why'd you write it? What's your favorite chapter? Give us a scoop. And it comes out, it'll be out by the time this episode drops. Yes. So you'll be able to just go get it. Link will be in the show notes.
I'm excited.
Yes.
No one's ever asked me what my favorite chapters. I don't even know where to start. Why'd I write it? So I am first generation Haitian American.
Okay.
And so I really wanted a book that spoke from that experience, right? So having a pretty great support system, having all the accolades and things. I went to private school my whole life. My brothers went to private school. So feeling like you should know better. You should know what you're doing. You have the keys to success. And I was just like, did I fumble the bag? Did I drop the ball?
Because I don't have the keys to success.
Right. I'm like, did I miss something here? Like, I have great parents. I went to school. Like, what's going on? And so I feel like a lot of my shame and embarrassment and fears and not learning and asking earlier was because I had this idea that I'm the first gen. I have to get this right. I have to make my family proud. I have to get the American dream. And I really wanted anyone who's feeling those types of pressures, even at first, I'm also the eldest daughter. Oh my God, like the responsibilities you have. And so I really wanted that particular audience, although this book is for everyone, I really wanted that particular audience to feel represented and feel like, oh, I've gone through this. I can learn this too. My current situation isn't my end goal, my end, situation. So this is for them first and foremost, my first gen West Indian Caribbean people. This is definitely something that's relatable for them to understand money and ask the questions that were kind of taboo. I didn't talk about money in my household. I did. And I write a lot about the experiences as I remember them, because I'm sure my parents are like, that's not how it happened.
They'll let you know.
Yeah. But I was talking about like the experiences in opening my first bank account and then buying a pair of Coach sneakers and overdrafting and like feeling so embarrassed that I had to call my dad. I was in college and I was just like, Dad, I need $60. Or just feeling the fear of almost losing my academic scholarship in college and not knowing what I would do for money or how I would figure it out. Cause I'm like, my parents can't afford to pay this and I messed up, So that was really the motivation behind the book. And just like, listen, I didn't know anything. If you feel like you know nothing or you're behind, I didn't know anything. I tried to buy a house with no savings. Like I had no savings account. So there is hope. All hope is not lost. So that is for them. I think my favorite chapter, that's such a good one. I'm so glad you asked that because I was like, what is my favorite chapter? I think my favorite chapter is about home ownership.
Okay.
The reason it's my favorite chapter is because I don't feel like I give this glossed over experience of homeownership. I feel like I'm one of the, if not the realest homeowner on Instagram, because I do love owning a home. And I always are like, I love my own space. I love everything about it, but I was not prepared. I was not mentally, emotionally, or financially prepared. And to be 100% honest, I did it because that felt like the next step. And it was like, all right, girl, you paid off all the debt. You did what you're supposed to do. Now get out of your parents' house. Get the house. Like that's what you wanted. And I feel like a lot of times people don't think about all the things that come with being a homeowner from a financial standpoint, from an emotional standpoint.
You need a fund just to have a house because things break. All the time.
All the time. And they're so expensive. Yes. I was like, what is going on here? And just the unexpected things that will happen. Because I first moved in, there was a washer dryer already there. I was excited. I was like, oh my God, I've never had a washer dryer. And I still didn't because it was broken the first time I used it. I was just like, wow. And it took me 2 years to save up to get the washer dryer that I wanted. Because I was just like, well, if I'm going to get one, I'm going to get one that I want. But that chapter, I think it's really important because it tells you all the steps and things that you can find pretty much anywhere. Like you need a down payment, you need this and you need that. But it also really goes into the emotional experience, the financial experience after you close on the home, when you first move in, things I didn't need. The first night that I was in my home, I didn't realize I would need kitchen things because I've lived at home all the time, right? Or at the dorm. So I'm just like, oh, I'm going to make like pancakes, celebratory dinner pancakes. I didn't even have a spatula. I was like, Melissa, you're going to order pizza because you have nothing to cook anything here. Like, what were you thinking? So all the things I never thought about when I lived at home, I write about them specifically in that chapter. Like, oh, don't forget, you need a whisk if you're trying to make eggs. Like, you need these things. So that's definitely my favorite chapter.
Oh my gosh, that's such a thing. I've owned a home before and I've like moved a ton. I think I'm at the point where like I've moved enough in my life where I have like a system for how I do it, and B, like a setup kit for myself. Like I create like a suitcase of like, this is what I need for like my first like 3 days. Cause I have a rule. I always unpack in the first 3 days.
Oh, you're good.
I'm crazy and it's miserable.
No, that's good.
And I'm not a nice person by the time it's done, but everything is done and there's not a box in my house. Like I have a method to it, but I always have like a setup of like, this is what I need. These are the emergency essentials so I can be okay. Like dumb things like a shower curtain, because you always forget the shower curtain.
Which I did.
Yep. You don't bring like paper plates. Like you don't have a cup to drink anything out of. Like if you're a coffee drinker, like you didn't take your coffee. You don't know what box your coffee machine is in.
Yeah. You
like,
speak in my language.
Yes. All those things. I'm a little type A. So I always have like a system for all the things.
I love it. Yes. You're the shower curtain and also body wash. Yeah. When I first moved, I don't know what I was thinking about, but I had to go out. Thankfully, I lived right near a supermarket. I was like, I hope they sell like body wash at the supermarket. And my mom's like, you could come to the house. I'm like, no, I'm not coming back for soap. Like I'm a grown up. But yeah, so definitely that home ownership chapter. If this is your first home, your third home, whatever it is, it definitely just walks you through like, here's what you want to have prepared. These are the things I forgot to do that I don't want you to forget.
Basically, don't do what I did.
Yeah, do better. That's what I say in the book. I'm just like, listen, I'm just putting all my mistakes and things out there because I want you to do 100 times better. And I want you to have the skill set to do so. So please, like, laugh at all the crazy nonsense I did, but just don't repeat it. Like, do better. Just do better.
Oh, I love it. So I know that this is a busy season as a fellow author myself.
Yeah.
I know that you're going to be all the places over the next few months. But what is next? Like, let us know. Is there any place we should be looking out? So obviously we are going to buy the book. We are going to get it wherever books are sold. I believe it's, so this is why I'mBroke.com.
Yes.
We're going there to get all the things.
Correct.
But where else should we be watching you over the next few months?
So I will be all over, like you said, but I think one of the things I'm most excited about is I'll be speaking at the National Urban Assembly Conference in July. So I'm not a conference person like I was telling you before, but I'm really excited because of their mission and their values and what we'll be talking about. And I will be with other entrepreneurs, so finding like more people that are going through the craziness that I'm going through. But I'm really excited for that. That's in July in Houston.
Okay.
And just like on different podcast. This one, definitely my fave so far. It's my first one. So yes, I'm very excited. But yeah, just kind of all over figuring things out. I'll be in New York launching.
Okay.
So you have to come.
Yes, please. Let me know when and where. I will be there. Yes.
I know we're homebodies, but like you have to come.
I will come outside for you.
It'll be good. I'm excited. Yeah. But I'll be a little bit of everywhere. A lot digital, but a few different spaces in person.
I love that. Well, we wish you a wildly successful book launch. I'm so excited for you. I cannot wait to dig in.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll have to have you come back.
Yes. I
feel like there's so many more money things we could talk about.
Yes. And maybe it'll be in the new house.
Yes.
The new set.
You know what? Yes. This time, not this, probably like June. My lease is up in June of next year.
Okay.
In June, July of next year, we'll do something.
I'll pull up like, hey girl.
Yes, you'll see the new place. It'll be amazing. I love it.
That's awesome. Thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. And to all of y'all, I hope your next move is your very best move. We'll talk soon.